well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Welcome to another edition of Bearing Arms, Cam and Company. My name is Cam Edwards. Glad you're with me on the program today. We're going to be focusing on what's going on in Illinois. Valinda Rowe from Illinois Carry will be with us. We'll talk about the sparse number of Illinois residents who have registered their prohibited weapons with the state of Illinois. Plus, we've got news about the Illinois State Police trying to register ammunition. Yeah, Valinda's been doing some work to combat that governmental bureaucratic overreach. We'll delve into that as well. And, again, there's always something to talk about in Illinois, so we have a lot to cover with Valinda. We'll get to that in just one moment. Before we do, Biden's America, it is crushing us. You've got companies laying off tens of thousands of workers, one after the other. America's working two jobs just to get by. Inflation pushing hardworking families to the brink. Just look at the price of lunch meat next time you go to the grocery store. And a digital dollar could be coming down the pipeline to completely destroy our way of life. The truth is, you need a plan. You know it, and I know it. And that's why you should call Goldco. So you can diversify your savings and investments with gold and silver before things get worse. They're a 6-time Inc. 5000 winner, 2022 Company of the Year, thousands of 5-star reviews, and they've helped people like you and me place over $1 billion in gold and silver. They're offering up to $10,000 in free silver while supplies last. And if you call them today, qualified callers will get a free half-ounce silver Ronald Reagan coin. So don't wait. Call 855-412-3806 today. That's Goldco at 855-412-3806. And now, without any further ado, let's get to our conversation with Valinda Rowe of Illinois Carry. Take a look and listen. Valinda, thanks so much for coming on the program. It's so good to see you today.
Well, it's always great to talk with you, Cam.
I wish the news was better, but this is Illinois we're talking about here, and they don't make life easy for you gun owners in Illinois.
They don't. There's always some new hook that comes up to try to snag us. Yeah,
and this gun and magazine ban that was signed into law by Governor Pritzker earlier this year, there are a lot of hooks in that legislation, right? For something that supposedly has a grandfather clause and, you existing gunners, you have nothing to worry about. Yeah, you do. So we've got this registration deadline that is coming up here. Is it January 1st?
I believe it is. It's early January. Mm-hmm.
So what? Who is supposed to register what under the gun and magazine ban? Right.
That's the big question. So this ban has pretty much touched on almost all semi-automatics, shotguns, rifles, handguns, and if it doesn't touch on the firearm itself, it touches on the magazine ban that goes along with it. And then there's the parts ban on top of that. So you have to, when you're trying to think, well, what I own, has it been banned? Am I required to register this? You can't just look and see on the list, is my firearm listed? You have to really dig into it and see, is it banned because of the firearm, or is it banned because of the magazine that it will take, or the magazines themselves are banned, or is it banned because of the parts, that you have to register it because of the parts, and some of the parts in firearms can be used on a lot of different things, not just firearms. So the Illinois State Police sent out a list and a flow chart, this magnificent flow chart, that if your firearm is this and it has this, then you go over here. Is it banned? Yes or no? Well, does it have this or does it have that? And they sent that out to FFLs and to their command centers and their officers. And so it's open to broad interpretation. So you might have law enforcement in your area that says, no, you're fine. Go to another area and they might interpret it a different way. So it's a real catch-22. And now, if you live in a county like myself, where I've got a sheriff and a state's attorney who says this is unconstitutional, if you're an otherwise law-abiding citizen, we're not getting into this. Prosecutorial discretion. This is unconstitutional. We're going to wait for the courts to play out, and so forth. So you're in pretty good shape. But if you live in Cook County or some of the other counties, you're really at risk. And the good news right now on that is the attorneys who are involved in challenging the ban, and they're in the court system now, they're saying, well, there's a lot of moving parts. A lot can happen between now and January. And so, people are having to decide, do we want to register our firearms? Do we want to store them out of state? Do we want to not comply? In other states where there's firearm registrations, there's very low compliance rate. So a lot of decisions, but the attorneys are saying, well, just hold off. We've got time. Let's wait and see, how this plays out, and people shouldn't panic just yet.
Yeah.
So we have in the Seventh Circuit Appellate Court, we're waiting on a ruling where the case was heard for a preliminary injunction to halt this ban while it continues to make its way through the court system. The merits of the case hadn't really been argued up to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Then on October 10th, there was another hearing in the Southern District U.S. Federal Court before Judge McGlynn, the same judge that heard the case for the preliminary injunction. There was a motion for summary judgment because the law is so vague, like I just told you. Who knows what is actually banned and what is not? There's no clear-cut way to tell just what all exactly is banned. And we know for sure that there are some firearms that we, by the letter of the law, see are on the banned, would be on the banned list, but the Illinois State Police is not listing them. And there's some pretty common firearms. So, if they're not even getting it all down correctly, how are they supposed to? On October 10th, so we're waiting on a ruling for the motion for summary judgment.
Okay. And, Judge McGlynn, I mean, the preliminary injunction that he granted was overturned or stayed by the Seventh Circuit. But I got to say, I mean, he had a very thoughtful opinion. He seems to clearly get these issues. So I don't know what the judge is going to do, but I hope, and fingers crossed, that he'll grant that request for summary judgment.
But he seems very informed on the issue. So
he is, which is that alone is helpful, right? Instead of having these judges who come up with all kinds of crazy arguments about why a magazine isn't protected by the Second Amendment, or the only guns that are protected by the Second Amendment are handguns because those are the only ones that are really used in self-defense. We've seen some nutty opinions come down. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So understandably, folks are holding off on registering. I think the last report I saw was something like an estimated 0.7% of impacted gun owners have registered their firearms. What's going on with ammunition tracking in the Illinois State Police? Because this is a different issue.
Okay, so there was nothing in the statute, in the law that was passed about registering ammunition sales. Purchases. And it's sometimes the Illinois State Police kind of get out ahead of themselves and they kind of project what it is they're wanting because they do these things and they just kind of pop up willy-nilly, it seems like. So a few weeks back, maybe a month or so, we have in Illinois the firearm owner ID card. So you have to have that card in order to purchase ammunition. And to purchase ammunition from an FFL, they have to look at the card. In the past, they would look at the card, they'd check your expiration date, you're good to go if it wasn't expired. Well, the Illinois State Police have removed the expiration dates from the FOID cards, the firearm owner ID card. So now you can't just look at the card and tell whether it's valid or not. So you have to either call in if you're an FFL or an individual who's doing a firearm transfer to verify that the FOID card is valid. You have to put in the FOID number, the date of birth, and then it will pop up, yes, this card is valid, or no, it's not. Well, 3 or 4 weeks ago, it popped up for ammunition sales. You click on, is this for a firearm transfer or ammunition? Okay, so you click on ammunition, and all of a sudden there's this drop-down box of all these different calibers that you have to click on. What is this purchase for? So then they would have the FOID owner's number. They would have what ammunition they are purchasing. And so that is registering your ammunition purchases. Well, I'm thinking I'm getting notified from our members and people in general and FFL saying, what is going on with having to report the ammunition caliber? So I go back to the statute, I comb through it, I see nothing that provides for this. So it's not in the statute. Well, in Illinois, we have JCAR. It's the Joint Committee of Administrative Rules. And when an agency is tasked with implementing a law, they can develop rules that are implemented to fill in the details. You have the statute, but then how is it going to be implemented?
Right.
I go through the rules that they have to be submitted to JCAR for approval. I comb through all of those, and I see no place where they have submitted regular rules or emergency rules or amended rules. I see no place where they've gone back to the legislature for a change in the statute. I see nowhere that they have permission to do this. So I contacted them. I submitted an inquiry asking for a link to the statute or to the rules, a link to the rules submitted to JCAR for approval. And the response I got back was, well, we will review this. Thank you for your inquiry. We will review this. And a few days later, I get another email back from my inquiry, and it says, we have updated our website. And so I go look to the website. All those calibers are gone except for 50 BMG, which it was banned with the firearm magazine and parts ban. They did ban the purchase of the 50 BMG unless you are an exempted person. And so there's a place there to say, yes, this is for 50 BMG, and yes, this is the person's exemption. So all the other calibers have been removed. But it just like somebody sent me a message, see something, say something.
Right.
Looks like it's wrong. We have to step up and challenge them and, claw back every bit of Second Amendment rights that we can, and not just let them usurp power that they don't have.
Yeah, absolutely. And
there are good folks there that you can work with. But it's the administration. We've got a governor that, appoints the director of the ISP. And, I think some of them feel beholden to the government more, or the governor more than they do the Constitution.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, again, what you just described is, I think, a perfect example of how gun owners can still go on offense, even in a state where the deck is stacked against you. Right. Yes. And as you say, it starts with somebody saying, hey, this isn't right, reaching out to somebody like you or, Illinois Carry, and then you can get involved. You get to question the folks. Now, they never told you why they did this, right? And you're not going to get the answer why, but you got results.
Right.
I would rather still be befuddled about how on earth they thought they could get away with this, as long as they've at least mostly rectified the situation. Because this is crazy. I mean, as you say, this was a backdoor registration scheme
of ammo sales. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations and thank you for your activism, Valinda, in calling them out and getting those results. What am I missing? What have we not talked about in Illinois that gun owners either in state or around the country need to know about what's going on there?
Okay, we do have a new situation that's cropping up that we're keeping an eye on, looking for a pattern. Clear and present danger revocations of Second Amendment rights. And in the past, if somebody's FOID card is revoked because of a clear and present danger report, and that's exactly what it is. It's a report. You don't get a hearing in court. You don't get adjudicated a clear and present danger. These are just someone files a complaint with law enforcement. They turn the report into the Illinois State Police, and your FOID card is revoked before you've ever even had a chance to even speak up for yourself. And in the past, if you had, in order to appeal the revocation, you could go and get a psychological evaluation, an in-depth psychological evaluation to show that you are not a clear and present danger. You would submit that mental health. Well, you wouldn't, but the person doing this evaluation would submit it to the Illinois State Police saying, you were determined not to be a clear and present danger to yourself or anybody else, and the FOID card would be reinstated. Well, now we have a FOID card review board that went into effect this last year. And the review board now gets all of this information, and it has changed to whether you qualify or not. They have the legal responsibility to determine by a preponderance of the evidence, is this person a clear and present danger to themselves or others. And we are seeing people who have undergone this in-depth psychological evaluation, been given a clear bill of health. They are not a danger to themselves or others, and their appeals are being denied, even though they've been cleared, by this psychological evaluation. So we're watching this to see if there's a pattern. We would like anybody that this has happened to contact me or contact the Second Amendment Foundation. They're also, keeping track of what goes on in Illinois. And so, let us know what's going on. We'll get the details. And my first thought is, you've got a clear bill of health. To continue to deny you your Second Amendment rights is unconstitutional. But the statute says the board has the right to do this. So we would have to challenge the statute, or we would have to challenge the law enforcement agencies that are submitting these clear and present danger reports without investigation or without interviewing or without really substantial cause. When an officer goes to check out, investigate this clear and present danger report, if they walk away after that and give no indication that they're going to file a clear and present danger report on the individual, I mean, they're not notified that the report's going to be filed, then that person really can hardly be considered dangerous enough to be a clear and present danger.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't make sense. It's not making sense to me. And if it doesn't make sense, just like the ammo registration, if it doesn't make sense, something is not right here. And we know, in my opinion, that any clear and present danger that person must be given due process before that ever takes place.
Absolutely.
Not confiscate, your rights, and then you have to fight to get them back.
Yeah, I mean, this is problematic on a couple of different levels. As you say, the lack of due process where you can have your rights revoked without even knowing that this is taking place. You just get a letter in the mail or an email, or it shows up on your FOID status. You have been revoked. I mean, that's an issue in and of itself. But as you say, the lack of common sense here, right? So I don't like red flag laws, but Illinois has one. You also, like every other state in the country, you've got a involuntary commitment law. You can, a 72-hour mental health hold. The idea that, again, somebody calls and says, Valinda's a danger to herself and others. And a officer comes out, talks to you for a couple of minutes, walks away, doesn't tell you he's filing this report or anything like that. They don't file a red flag complaint. They don't take you in for an involuntary commitment. No. You go on about your life, and then a couple of weeks later, you get this letter, this notification, hey, you're a danger.
Yes.
Well, really? Because it's been like 3 weeks since somebody talked to me saying I haven't done anything dangerous. I mean, as you say, this is using, I don't want to call it a loophole, because it's being exploited exactly the way it was supposed to.
Right.
But this is to me anyway, this is exactly the type of arbitrary and capricious licensing of a right that the Supreme Court said was not acceptable in Bruin. This is may issue, basically. We may choose to take away your right to keep and bear arms if we think, without, again, any evidentiary hearing, without rebuttal witnesses, without you being able to give your side of the story, we may still take away your right to keep and bear arms.
Just an officer's report. And we've had cases where the reports were 4 or 5 years ago, and they're just now getting around to revoking FOID cards from something that happened. I say, it's been 5 years since this happened, and I've not had any issues with law enforcement. I've not had any issues with anybody. And, so that's kind of, mind blowing in itself. And we also have had situations where acquaintances or somebody with a grudge has filed a clear and present danger report on somebody, and their police officers went and interviewed them. The individual that was in the report and didn't say anything other than thank you for your time, left. They filed the clear and present danger report with the Illinois State Police. The gentleman gets notification his rights have been revoked, and had to go to court to get them back.
Unbelievable. Well, yes, please keep us up to date on what's going on with that. And again, if this has happened to you, if this has happened to someone please encourage them to reach out to Illinois Carry or Second Amendment Foundation. Valinda, thank you as always for your activism.
Always great.
It is so great catching up with you, but I am so glad that Illinois gun owners have you and other activists like you there who are, trying to keep the state on the straight and narrow as much as possible. It is a Herculean task, as you are well aware. But please know that your efforts are not going unnoticed and unappreciated, because there are definitely gun owners in Illinois and around the country who are cheering you on. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for what you do in helping get the word out about all of this. So, your work is greatly appreciated as well. Thank you.
Wow, I appreciate that, Valinda. And like I said, it was so good catching up with you. It will not be so long next time before we have you back, but we'll talk again very soon.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too, Valinda. Thank you. My thanks to Valinda for joining us here on the program. Looking forward to talking with her again in the very near future. Right now, let's turn our attention to today's armed citizen story, our good deed of the day, and our recidivist report. We'll start there with a case out of Edenton, North Carolina, where a man on probation allegedly crashed a carjacked vehicle while fleeing from police in Edenton over the weekend. According to authorities, Tamrick Hamer, now charged with robbery with a dangerous weapon, felony larceny of a motor vehicle, felony larceny of a firearm, 2 counts of being a felon in possession of a firearm, assault by pointing a gun, assault with a deadly weapon, felony fleeing to elude arrest, and other charges related to the incident. So a litany of charges for Mr. Hamer. Police say that Hamer carjacked a vehicle that had 2 adults and 2 minors inside. This was around 10:50 Saturday morning. Deputies in Chowan County spotted the vehicle heading towards Edenton a short time later. They say Hamer refused to stop. The pursuit ended with Hamer crashing the vehicle in the 20 block of Tiptoe Road. Deputies from Chowan County and Edenton police officers able to take him into custody. He is now behind bars on a $100,000 bond. Police say that Hamer was also under post-release probation at the time, although we don't know what the previous charge was. Again, we do know he's a convicted felon because he's facing 2 counts of being a convicted felon in possession of a firearm while engaged in this unlawful activity. We'll see if we can find more details about the previous criminal history of Tamrick Hamer and bring that to you in a future story. Today's Armed Citizen Report from South Carolina. We got our recidivist report from North Carolina. We've got our defensive gun use from South Carolina. No charges filed after upstate shooting ruled self-defense. Thankfully, it did not take months and months for prosecutors and police to make this determination. The shooting took place a week ago. Lawrence County Sheriff's Office responded to a reported shooting in Gray Court, South Carolina. When they got there, they talked to eyewitnesses, including the victim in this case, and they learned that a guy was behaving in a threatening manner towards the resident of the home. That suspect, David Dale Arrington, was allegedly threatening the resident with a weapon of his own. Arrington was told to leave the property. He refused to do so. According to witnesses, he continued towards the resident and then tried to tackle him to the ground. Resident, in fear for his life, drew his firearm, fired in self-defense. Arrington passed away from his injuries at a nearby hospital. No charges, according to authorities, will be filed against the resident, again, acting in lawful self-defense. Finally today, in the right place, at the right time, willing and able to do the right thing, a 13-year-old in Iowa able to save his neighbor's life thanks to the Stop the Bleed training that he had received in school. And I know that sometimes gun control activists, complain about this, right? Well, why are we teaching kids how to stop the bleeding? We need more gun control so that kids don't ever have to know about this. Well, in this case, it wasn't a shooting that the teen responded to. It was his neighbor who had gotten overturned. Weston Drake is the neighbor of Pat Kernery. They both have their family farms in Blockton, Iowa. Weston says we all help one another. It's kind of how it goes, I guess, in small towns around here. So Weston was on his tractor, rounds a corner, and he says, I saw the four-wheeler rolled over, and I saw Pat was kind of pinned under it. So she's on her ATV. It tips over. She can't get off or get out from underneath. Weston says that's when his Stop the Bleed training service. He said, since I had that training when I got Pat in the wreck, one thing paramedics said was always to stay calm and analyze the situation. Kernery, by the way, says, I thought if he goes up that other driveway and I'm left there, I probably would have lost my legs. She says it was a remote area, not easy to see. And it really was a case of being in the right place at the right time, but also being able to do the right thing. Kernery said, I think it's really important. I think it's wonderful that they teach stuff like that because people in a small town, a lot of times, will never call for help, and they need help. If they have young people around that can help them, it's definitely a benefit. And so, again, in the right place at the right time with the education to save a life, Weston Drake there in Blockton, Iowa, certainly Pat Kernery's hero, and I think a pretty good appellation. Today's hero of the day as well. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Bearing Arms Cam and Company. Want to thank you for being a part of the program. As always, looking forward to being back with you again tomorrow, kicking around some of the latest Second Amendment news and information from all across the nation. Of course, we do that at bearingarms.com as well, so I would encourage you to head over to the website periodically throughout the day. Get caught up on everything that's going on with your right to keep and bear arms. If you like what you see, I'd also encourage you to become a VIP or VIP Gold member. All you have to do, go to bearingarms.com/subscribe. Use that promo code GUNRIGHTS, and you can get a significant saving on your VIP or VIP Gold membership. As our way of saying thanks for showing your support for the independent pro-Second Amendment journalism that we're doing, we're going to give you exclusive content you won't find anywhere else. News stories and analysis that matter, just like your support. So thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, as, well as you can on Monday. See you back here tomorrow for 2-8 Tuesday. Until then, be well, be safe, and be free.